my name is Mario Legenstein, and I'm the designer of the Levitaz kite foils. Yeah, it all started way back in 2010 for me personally. I'm a passionate kiter and I started kite foiling in these days. And I really was fascinated from the first moment on. And on the other hand, I was a little bit disappointed about the performance of these kite foils in these days because there was just one brand and they were very low performing. And then I started building and designing for myself, and then I came together with Adrian in 2013. And yes, this was the year where Levitaz was born. And yeah, today we're in 2022, and I'm still very passionate and very keen on designing and improving our products.
I'm Adrian Geislinger. Right now responsible for the brand Levitaz Hydrofoils, and I'm one of the founding members together with Mario. We started way back in 2013, and we really want to give you a look behind the brand, how it started, and why our foils look like they look today.
Actually, it's the development is evolving all the time, and I started finding a good connection system already before we worked together. And yeah, there were a lot of ways they didn't work, and we made a lot of prototypes then from 2013 on, and testing, mechanical stress and so on. And I always had the goal to make it hydrodynamic as possible, because in these days we made also our race foils with this concept. And so the goal was to have a low surface fuselage, and yeah, and this was the solution. Yeah. So I have also a medical background as a physiotherapist, and in the chirurgy there are some ways to fix bones. You can compare with our connection system. So this was an idea behind it.
I think for people who know our foils, who ride our foils, it feels like nothing else on the market. Is that because of the hydrodynamics? Is that because of the design of the wings you're choosing?
My idea is to get the foils as good as possible in a way that you don't feel the foil anymore. So it's just like a prolonged body part. So you just move with the wind and waves, and you shouldn't feel the gear, or at least the gear shouldn't limit you. So the rider should be the limit. And yeah, this was always the goal. And to come to a certain character of a foil, all designing parameters play together. So it's, of course, the size in terms of span and area, and the anhedral shape or dihedral, or where the lateral center of area is, or the tail volume or the trim. And yeah, everything plays together. And it's very important to work close with our team, with our riders. And we got a lot of feedback from them. And yeah, this is always having an idea, making, materialize it and prototype it, and test it, get some feedback, and refine it. So it's always evolving this way.
I remember way back our foil, or the first front wing, the first foil we had in our lineup. We actually called it Aspect. I think it's fair to say it was a design ahead of its time, because now high aspect wings are a big thing. Were you maybe ahead of time of the riders it was a wing that already had quite some aspect ratio. So were we the first high aspect foil on the market? How do you see it?
This part is really, in terms of a hydrofoil development, a Stone Age part already.
So it's from 2013 probably, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And
So it's
with
10
this,
years
with
old.
this front foil, I rode in the first World Championships in south of France with this, and it was the foil with the highest span actually in these days. And I was really proud of it because it was working very nicely. And yeah, it's really interesting to look at this historic part from now. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's who can say they have a 10-year-old hydrofoil? I think there's not that many hydrofoils like that out there. And going from that design, how did it influence now our range that we have today? We have very extreme aspect ratios on our race foil. We have more moderate ones for our high aspect series.
The sports developed in a very wide variety. So we don't have just kite foiling, we have surfing and wing foiling. But the direct sum of this is the aspect 2. And the aspect 2 is quite a good step forward to the aspect 1. It's a little bit easier to ride, and you can go, especially on the downwind, quite fast without feeling any nervous or instability. So it's really real good freestyle wing to ride with if you want to go fast and jump high. So I really like this this aspect too. Yeah.
So, but for the listeners and for everybody who's watching and who knows Levitaz, I think our most popular wing though was the Cruizer, which is more, I would say, a medium aspect wing. Why do you think, especially this front wing, the Cruizer front wing for kite foiling, why is it so popular?
The Cruizer is, I think, one of the most versatile front wings we ever made. So I have a lot of friends who learned actually on the Cruizer, and nowadays we have front foils there even more easier to ride than the Cruizer, but you can't grow out of a Cruizer. So if you're into freestyle or just free ride, you can go up to 50 kilometers with the Cruizer, which is quite scary for most of the riders. So I still enjoy the Cruizer a lot.
So speaking about fuselages, we have different lengths. Why do we have different lengths? What's the idea behind it?
With the shorter fuselage, you get a little more the sensation of stiffness and directness, and the foil gets more agile, not just around pitch, also around the other axis. And with the longer fuselage, it's a little more friendlier or more forgiving, maybe. Yeah.
Same thing for the rear wings with different size rear wings. Some of it is obvious, I guess, to our customers why we have different sizes.
Yes. To have a balanced feeling, it has always to match the front wing, and for smaller wings, of course, we prefer a tail volume which suits this smaller front wing, and usually you have a smaller rear wing. Then you might see that there have different sizes of the winglets, which gives you some lateral stability on the tail, and this makes the whole foil more yaw and roll stable. And with increasing span of the front wing, you actually need a bit less lateral surface on the back wing because it's gets a little bit more resistance in yaw anyway. So it always has to be balanced in the end. So we try a lot. We have a lot of prototypes in the past and a lot of wings, and yeah, we try all possibilities and make our conclusions out of it. Yeah, because we can also ride a bigger front wing like the high aspect 1600 with a smaller back wing if you pump the foil, or if you ride behind a boat, so you don't go so fast behind a boat, and therefore you don't need that much tail volume from a bigger rear wing. And if you pump a foil, you might prefer a smaller rear wing also, because it has less drag for this kinds of speeds. And the smaller wing is also sufficient for this kind of sport. Yeah.
Also, when it comes to rear wing, we offer an angle shim set. Basically, we offer our customers to adjust the angle of attack of the rear wing. Why do we do that?
With more angle of attack of the back wing, we get more pitch stability. And
what
with
means more angle of attack?
So the front wing has some positive angle and the back wing has some negative angle, and creates some down force, because the down force of the back wing has to balance the forces which moves the foil backwards. So it's the drag, and the kite is also a moment which goes that way. And actually this rear wing balances the other forces. And the faster you go, the more drag is created by the foil, and the more down force you need to balance this force. So yeah, and with increasing this angle, you get more pitch stability. The center of lift moves more to the front, and this makes a more locked feeling, makes you feel more stable.
So speaking about masts, we have two different kind of philosophies, or let's say two different kind of production processes when it comes to our masts. We have the full carbon masts and the carbon hybrid masts. Tell us a little bit about the differences. Why do we have them? What mast do you recommend to them?
Yes, the carbon hybrid mast has a very strong connection to the fuselage, and therefore these are the masts to go when you're into freestyle and jumping high. So you definitely should choose the carbon hybrid. If you prefer more a mast which has low drag and is full carbon, you should choose the carbon.
There's this big trend of high aspect wings. They kind of compared to low aspect wings, which is, I guess, the both ends of the horizon. So very extreme and very different approaches. Right now, everybody talks about high aspect wings. We have our high aspect 1100. Why is there such a big fuss about high aspect wings? What makes them so interesting, especially maybe for wing foiling at the moment? And then let's focus also about what can they do, what low aspect foils can't do, and what is the benefit of the low aspect foils. But first of all,
yeah, the main benefit of the higher aspect wings is that you have a better lift to drag ratio, which improves the glide a lot. And this makes the wing faster, accelerates more, and you get a better glide during the maneuvers. And due to the bigger span, they're also quite forgiving while you switch feet because they get very roll stable. So there are quite a few reasons why they're so popular today. But I think the main reason is definitely that they have a very good glide. And yeah.
So, but we also have the high aspect series containing several sizes, but we also have the medium to low aspect series, the Shaka series. What is your reason behind designing them? They look quite different compared to the high aspect one.
Yeah.
So what is the reason behind it? Why did you design it like that? They're completely different wings. However, so what was your reason behind it?
Yeah, they look obviously very different, but they also have something in common. They produce the same lift. It doesn't look like this, but the more span you have, the more you can decrease the area and without losing lift. So these two actually produce the same amount of lift in the same speed.
Even though they have a different surface area.
Yes, yes, exactly. So if you increase the span, you can decrease the area without losing lift, actually. Yeah. This is described the aspect ratio by the square of the span divided through the area of the wing, and this results in a number, and this describes the aspect ratio. And the higher the number, the more efficiency you get from the wing. Yes, but the low aspect wings also have some advantages. So they have a very gentle stall behavior. So when it comes to high angles of attack, they stall very gentle and soft. So
what does this mean to a rider?
So yeah, if they bank hard in a wave and lose speed, so the water flow reattaches more easily if a wing tip comes out of the water, or you can bank them harder than wider spans, of course, because they roll more easy. Yeah, this is what the low aspect ratio is for. So actually, they're still quite popular for surfing or for some kiters. They love this low aspect ring because of their character. Yeah, if you're a beginner or intermediate, I think in kiting, for example, the Shaka S is really a top front wing. It gives you a nice lift, so you can go slow, and the span is big enough that you can learn these maneuvers like jibing or tacking more easily, because foot switching is quite easy on this one. And yeah, or if you go in little waves, you will like the agility around the roll and yaw axis. So this is depending on your weight. If you're more heavy, like let's say 90 or 100 kilos, you might prefer the Shaka M for kiting also. Or even on a wing, when you're in waves, and like turning hard, you might prefer these low aspect wings, like Shaka M or Shaka S. If you're a beginner in wing surfing, my recommendation is the Shaka L, and it's a really easy-going front wing. So I have some friends, they are quite heavy boys, around 100 kilos, and they learned on Shaka L and they love it. So, yeah.
So we have the latest addition to the high aspect series, the high aspect 1300, kind of closing the gap between the 11 and the 1600. How would you say, does it fit into the lineup? Whom would you recommend it to? Why did we make it? Just to fill the gap? What was your design thoughts behind it? Is it more like the 1100? Is it more like the 1600?
The 1300 is my very light wind front wing for winging. So I don't ride any wing bigger than 5 square meter. And with the 1300 I can go easily in 9-10 knots of wind. And for heavy riders, they prefer often as a free ride rider, the 1300 over the 1100. Mm-hmm. So if you're in between 90 and 100 kilos, you would probably prefer the 1300. Mm-hmm.
So now also, when it comes to the 1600, we have 2 different versions. We have the 1600 Pro and the 1600. Why do we have them? Why do we, what's the difference between the 2 of them?
When we started the high aspect series, we started with the biggest one. And this was a new game, and we made different prototypes. And of course, when you make a huge span, it gets more resistance on roll axis, and the idea was to make it feel like a smaller front wing. So this was the motivation behind the dehydral, and this is really very agile front wing. But we saw, on the other hand, that many riders prefer more stable feeling around the roll axis, where they can, because it's also an entrance front wing for talented riders who want to go directly to the high aspect wings. And this high aspect 1600 offers a good stability around the roll axis, and you can learn this feet switching and jibing and tacking easier. But it has a higher leverage, and you have to put a little bit more force onto it to move it around the roll axis.
All right, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you for your time, for answering all these questions, and it was quite exciting to get all this information from you.
Thanks a lot, Adrian.